Welcome to today's episode of the Hot and Steamy podcast. We'd like to first recognize our sponsors, Kelly Garza of Steamy Chick and Kimberly Ann Johnson of MAGA Mamas. Follow them on Instagram at Steamy Chick and at MAGA Mamas.
Hot, steamy, hot, steamy, hot, steamy, hot, steamy, hot, steamy.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Hot and Steamy podcast. We're very, very, very excited to welcome on this episode someone I consider family and someone who I think you all are going to be very excited to learn more about, Kimimila Locke. Welcome.
Thank you.
This is, I'm going to read your bio so everyone can know a little more about you. Kimimila is Lakota from the Standing Rock Reservation in South Dakota and Atna Dine from Taslina, Alaska. She has her MA in teaching and has been in education for the past 17 years as both a middle and high school English teacher and a Lakota language teacher since 2013. Currently, Kimimila is co-creating and continuing to expand and develop the Miniwichoni Nakichije Waunspe, the Defenders of the Water School, that was started during No Dapple prayer camps. In addition, Kimimila has several projects and activities that keep her busy with her home community, such as issues surrounding environmental racism, missing and murdered Indigenous women, birth work, lactation consultation, and middle school sex education. Dope.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here.
Hamitaki api Kimimila Locke machi api Gia Tawet and Awikchak Chijui La Komach Michaje. Ian Waslata Hemataha na Taslina Alaska Hemataha. Wana Akichi Tahaska Awati Kevin Locke Ate Waiki na Dorothy Locke Ate Waiki. Elsie Jackson na Patricia Locke Mchiapi Waiki. Frank Stickwan na Ned Locke Tunkashila Waiki. So good afternoon, everybody. As a Lakota person, one of the things that we always do, or any Indigenous person, is you always orient yourself in time and place, and you always acknowledge your place within the creation. So in doing so, I just said, my name is Kimimila. In Lakota, I'm known as she flies to defend her nation, which is it's like that whole sentence. So she flies to defend her nation. My mother's from Taslina, Alaska. My father's from here at Standing Rock. And my grandparents are Frank and Elsie Stigwan and Ned and Patricia Locke. So that's the addendum.
Thank you for that addendum. I always love that part. It's so much fun.
That's my first time hearing it.
Oh, good. Good.
So I was very fascinated. I was just
like, okay. Thanks.
Yeah. It's so cool. And maybe a lot of our audience too. It'll be the first time seeing that.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice.
Was there anything else besides that you feel like is left out of your bio but also describes you?
No, only because I think we're going to cover quite a bit in the question.
I think so too.
Provide more context to a lot of the, just provide more context.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Okay. So then the first question that I want to ask is, I know you as a master educator, a culture protector, and of course, a justice advocate. But I'm less familiar with your work around birth and reproductive health. Will you tell us what links all these various areas of your work together?
For sure. So I was born and raised here on Standing Rock. I lived away for 24 years, kind of gallivanted around the world and lived all over, like you, 37 countries. Well, traveled to 37 countries, but kind of, lived around and stuff. And I moved home 3 years ago. I say that just as an explanation of my philosophy and understanding of the world and the way I approach the world. The Lakota philosophy, and not to lay a pan-indigenous idea, but yeah, there is a link between indigenous belief systems, that we are only a part of the creation, and we acknowledge that every time we say mitakuye oyasi or mitakuye owasi, which means we are all related. So we're only one part of creation. So everything is interconnected. And in that, in being a good Lakota, like if you identify as a Lakota person, or if you say I'm Lakota, what that essentially means is that I acknowledge like I did, I acknowledge my place in creation, my place in time. I orient myself and my family. I orient myself in where I'm located at in the creation at this moment. And I basically acknowledge, my soul, essentially. Because when you're orienting yourself, the seventh direction, like in our belief system, there are, 7 directions. You have the 4 cardinal directions, you have the heavens and the earth. And then the 7th direction is obviously yourself. So that's where all the directions come from. So when you orient yourself, you acknowledge to the creation, especially when I say my name, because the creation knows me by my Lakota identity. She flies to defend her nation. So when I say my name, I orient myself where I am. All of that. Any questions there does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Okay, so in that, in identifying as Lakota, the core of that meaning is to be human, and to acknowledge that I'm of the 2-legged, and this is my place in the creation. I'm linked to Unchimaka, which is Grandmother Earth in English. I'm linked to the water creatures. I'm linked to the sky creatures. I'm linked to the 4-legged. I'm linked to the winged creatures. So we're all interconnected. We're linked to the stars. We all come from the stars. That's why we always have our nahi. That this place exists all the time. So this is our connection to the star nation. Mm-hmm. So all of that is interlinked. All of that is interconnected. In all of the work I do, and I don't like the way that this word translates, but it's in decolonizing. So in Lakota, we say ki Lakota, which means to become human again. And so, mind you, what I'm about to say, this is my own tangent. This is not like a universal, but I feel like colonization, capitalization, like this need to consume, this greed, this need to commercialize, this parasitic nature that's kind of encompassed, the people who are infected by this, or who have forgotten what it means to be, who forgotten their place in the creation. That means they've forgotten what it means to be human. So in Ki Lakota, I feel like by relearning, like the language work that I do, I'm in the process of trying to learn Lakota. I've taught Lakota, just the basics. I haven't taught the upper levels, but I've taught beginners Lakota for a number of years. That's the process of shedding this language, because holy cow, I'm shaking because I get really. This is like my passion, obviously. So it's like it ripples through me. But in the Lakota language, you say that you can't. You know how in English you can name objects all the time. In Lakota, it's almost impossible to do that because it's always an object in motion or in connection with something else. Mm-hmm. So in the language, it's always an acknowledgement of the connection. And, that connection is ultimately love, obviously. So that's, that's pretty universal. So, in learning Lakota, it's every vocabulary word, I'm like, oh, wait, so if I just change the words slightly, like my dad did a really good video or explanation of this word to tear. And you can't say just tear, you'd have to say the wind tore it, or my hand tore it, or the scissors tore it, or a strike tore it, or, and then also in that word is encompassed who was doing the action. So all of that is encompassed. So it's all interconnected. Mm-hmm. Whereas in English, everything is really discombobulated, mm-hmm. and it's just all over. And you just kind of pick and choose and consume whatever suits you to get, to say it. Mm-hmm. So that's, and that's also the reason that, they say like the colonizers were originally identified as the forked tongue. Because in Lakota, if you're constantly, if in the languages it's embedded, if you're constantly orienting where you are in time and place, and if you're constantly saying who you are in connection to, this is like in the word that's embedded, like this is my auntie, this is my uncle, it's all embedded in the language. So if you're constantly acknowledging that, holy cow, I haven't met a person who can lie well in Lakota. Mm-hmm. It's really difficult to say one thing and not, it's really difficult. You have to have thought of everything that's happening around, and it's impossible. Mm-hmm. So, so that connects like the decolonization, like that becoming human again, shedding that mindset of the disconnected, stopping myself from, speaking or thinking and, as much as I can in Lakota versus English. That's also obviously in the work I do in standing up for women, because I see, I come from a culture where it wasn't like they like to say it was maternal, but it was a really, egalitarian society. And when in practice, like in communities, when in practice, or when in families, it's a practice, it's really powerful, obviously. So I see that in having women and having families and in working with couples or in working, I teach middle school sex ed. I have close to 300 students across the res, so in doing that, in talking with young people and talking with pregnant women and talking with breastfeeding women, it's always the acknowledgement of the nati and always acknowledgement of your power and of your, like, whether, like the life forces on earth are male and female. So I discussed that, with all, again, through breastwork, sex ed work, but then also acknowledge the people who have like really powerful, because they have access to both the male and female entities. They have that access within them. So then, of course, they're at a higher level because, they're tapped into so many life forces. And you think of the male life force, you think the female life force, like those in and of themselves create. But when one person contains both within them. Anyway, I'm going off on another tangent. So then, of course, that connects with my birth work. And yeah, I feel like when people say that, like, how does you're like all over the place. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to remember how to be human. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember how to be connected. I'm trying to remember my place, my connection to Uchimaka, my connection to Grandmother Earth. And I'm trying to help my relatives remember that too, because I'm of that age. I'm, 45. I'm of that age where they're my responsibility, the younger people. Mm-hmm. So I'm just doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? Mm-hmm.
So, I think so. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I recently started identifying as like an elder. I mean, not an elder, but elder than the 20-year-olds, Yeah.
Yeah.
And
acknowledging. And those responsibilities are coming. So for sure.
Yeah. Like being one of the people who checks in and makes sure they have like something to eat and somewhere to wash their clothes. Yeah. And they understand how to navigate their newfound freedom, and for sure.
Yeah.
And then I also definitely understand your relationship to the term decolonization and how it doesn't quite translate in that way. Like in the healing work that I do, when I see the kinds of disconnections that stop people from like being able to receive from their ancestors, like to receive their blessings and guidance. If I were outside of the healing space, I would look at it as like I would understand the symptoms of it, like the presentations of it, as something having to do with like the things that go along with the way that we've been colonized, like the individual over the collective and, you know, products over people and that kind of thing. But the healing that I do is connecting, like it's reconnecting people to themselves, to the earth, to their ancestors, to their nobility. Like that's what it comes down to, for sure.
Remembering. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I know with my own work in steaming, I mean, healing myself through steaming, it was all reconnection work. Like I was just really dissociated from my uterus.
Yeah.
And I had to do that. Yeah. So not tangential at all. Definitely all like fully connected. Thank you for that. So how and when did you get into birth work itself?
So I kind of gave a little background. I thought I was thinking about this question, how much to delve into it, and I don't know what our time frame is. It's like an hour or something.
Listen, we're good. We have clients who've gone, not clients, sorry. We've had guests who've gone like 2 hours.
2 hours. Yeah.
2 hours. So take your time.
So just like, I guess I feel like a little context is helpful because, you know, I like I said, I was born and raised here on Standing Rock. And I was born in 1975. They stopped taking kids for boarding school in 1978. So I have cousins who are older than me who, you know, who were taking them from their families. And so that means like, and so, you know, like there were families, of course, like there's always the ones who, who worked for the BIA and stuff. But essentially, I was among that first group of young people to be integrated in public school. And so I was one of 4 Native students at my school throughout. And it was just experienced like severe racism, just like, brutal, like people have these fond memories of like, hey, your favorite teacher. And I'm like, ooh. Really? I don't know what that experience is like because we were getting beaten and we were getting paraded and mocked, anyway. So not to bring up all the trauma, but I kind of feel like, and this kind of came up with my counselor. She said, I feel like you've kind of been fine-tuned for standing up for social justice because, like at every point it was like, I was like up against it, like up against injustice, up against the system, up against, like fighting the man, So all that to say, at the time that I had my daughter, I knew that I wanted a natural birth. But I was being told, like, there was a lot of things I didn't understand. And it wasn't until 2008 that I attended a workshop at Spelman. And forgive me if I say her name wrong, Laren?
Oh, yeah. No, Laren, yeah.
Laren and Patty Garcia were presenting. And I didn't know what doula was, had no clue. Like my mind was kind of like it just exploded. Like I was listening, it exploded. And then within a month, I had signed up for a donor training, and then I found a home birth midwife. And that was kind of the beginning of like, just sitting in that workshop, listening to this and thinking, wait, like, hey, if I had known that, my birth could have been different. And then as I sat through, the birthwork training, all I could think was, we need this here. We, like Native women need this. Like we're being we're basically being treated like animals when we go into, to the health system up here. We're the guinea pigs, so that's kind of been my goal, is that we just need it here. And so I just kind of jumped on that's kind of what I've done when I moved around, is it's always been like, what can I learn here and take it home to my relatives. So that's kind of how I've operated everywhere I went. And so that was one of the things I picked up, was learning about birth work. And then, of course, mostly the angle is just to stop the injustice that so many women face.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you tell me what you do in birth work. I know you're a lactation consultant. Are you a practicing midwife? Are you a doula?
So I'm a doula, and I've actually there's kind of, I feel like I have a multi-pronged answer here.
My favorite kind.
So a little over a year ago, or no, 2 years ago now, there's a Bush Fellowship to create to create the school. So I'm sharing the fellowship with another person, but essentially that's kind of like directed all my work. But again, the creation of this school is movement-based, land-based. It's getting away from, standards. It's creating our Lakota standard, because I feel like that's, morally, spiritually, academically, that would provide the highest standard. So, getting back to the Lakota standard, for example, if we were to take students on a buffalo hunt, they'd learn the ecology, they'd learn the star knowledge behind that, they'd learn the biology around that. They learn mathematics through the hunting process of it. So they'd be able to get their credits. But all that explanation to say that I've kind of put my birth work on hold, only because I feel like I can better train, I can better, focus on that once I create this system where I'm, other people are also tapping in. Like I have a group of people going out and collecting medicines, bringing the medicines back. I have some of my students out, like creating the homes and sustainable energy. So ultimately, I'd like to create, focus on the young women and birth work, but I need the structure. I need a better structure, as opposed to just running around, hey, let me help you on that. Mm-hmm. So long story, I was just getting too like, okay, let me just focus, and then we can do more of the other things I want to do.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Completely. Yeah. I know that space well, like needing structure in order to.
So when I can, I'll tap in on a birth, and I'll help out. I'm mostly available like by phone. I'll talk, I talk to groups of young women, but the majority of my time, I'm trying to get this school up and running.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. The next question is, what do you love most about birth work? And then also, what do you find most challenging about it?
Life is life. So there's there's a lot of draws to it. Obviously the justice part, wanting to help women remember their power, because I feel like we have to change our language around there, because people always say, oh, I delivered a baby. Nobody does the delivering except the mother. So I just go and hold space, and just hold space. But I also, I look at it also as a ceremony time. Like that's a really sacred time. And that's, so I enter into a birth with that mindset. Like I'm going into ceremony. So there's protocol. You're going to greet this new soul. So you clean yourself and you present yourself, and you're meeting this new relative, and you're gonna, introduce them into the world. So that's what I love. I love that, just that connection and helping the mother remember her nachi, and then her baby seeing, she goes to that place and she brings that baby back. So if you've been to a birth, women, they leave and they go to that place and they go to the ancestors, they bring the baby back with them. So I like having those conversations and seeing those light bulbs, like, oh yeah, just remembering our connection and helping people remember our connection to the stars. And so that's what I love. Challenges, the system. And that's why I want to create this system. The births I have been to are in Bismarck, and granted, it's way better than it was, a while, when I was young and stuff, but there's still so much, the majority of births are planned because we're so rural. We're 100 miles away from the hospital. So the doctors schedule the birth, especially in the winter when there are blizzards and it's -40. So we have almost zero natural births happening here. It's very few. And that's how I was like, oh, your birth is already set. Okay. Oh, and there's not much I can do, when you have 5 feet of snow and it's -40, and I need to create the system, like, help create the structure so we can bring those births home. Mm-hmm. So that's the challenge, is that. And the baby's being born now, still in this. Yeah. So I can't both go there. I have to just focus on getting the work done.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the challenge.
I'm really glad you're speaking on that. I'm in a collective called the Sugar Heal Gang. And Kelly's in it too. Kelly's twin sister actually started it. And you know Piper, right?
I don't think. Maybe.
Okay. Anyway, Piper's in it.
I see a picture.
Yeah. She's really close with Laren also. So one of the conversations we're having right now about like where an area of need is around women who need reproductive health care and how nobody can really access hospitals right now. And this is really like a wonderful opportunity for us to figure out what like a network of urgent natural care might look like. You know what I mean? And I have one really wonderful client who had like a cyst rupture, and I was able to tap into a network I already have to make sure that she got the care that she needed without having to leave her home. And it worked out really great.
That's awesome.
And I was just like, yeah, like we can do this. How do we expand this and make sure that every woman everywhere can get the care that she needs without having to leave the comfort of her home and give up her power to someone who knows less about her body than she does? And do you know what I mean? Like get the attention that she needs and like the intention that she needs, like not just the attention, but like someone who really is interested in her healing herself and empowering her to heal herself,
There was a question there, it cut out for a sec, and all I heard was, do you know what I mean? And so I didn't hear
okay.
It was like,
yeah, I don't know what it was.
Oh man.
Do you remember?
I heard the majority, but then there was a blurb. Okay, so as long as there wasn't a question, yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
No, there wasn't a question, but it was just
maybe, yeah. I think my main point was like that there's a way to empower women to heal themselves rather than being like, okay, let me not trust my own body and listen to someone who doesn't know me and who maybe isn't as interested in my balance as I am.
Because they've commodified.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me started. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next question.
Anyway.
Wait, say that again.
Selling vaginas.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, well, you've gone into this a little bit, but if you have more to say about it, please do. The next question is that I know you've lived in cities that are very different from each other, like Atlanta and Dubai and Denver, What does birth work look like in a rural area? I know you talked about like one thing is that the nearest hospital is so far, and so there's very little chance for natural birth. Everything's scheduled, but like what other challenges are there, and what other like benefits are there?
I think the benefit, honestly, is coming. Is that there's little regulation here. There's very little structure here. There's very little, like it's literally the wild, wild west still. Like, so I feel like the benefit in that is, for example, one of the communities that we're going to have our school in, they basically said, here, just build right here. And then they're like, sorry, here, go ahead, go just go. That's kind of how the conversation, yeah, just go build over there. That land's all free right there. I mean, where else does that happen?
Right.
So in that, like right now, it's so dangerous to have a baby here. It's so dangerous to be brown in the deep north. Like just, we're harassed all the time. It's constant. It's really oppressive. People who visit here are kind of astounded at how oppressive it is. So, but they don't want anything to do with us. So that's...
Yes.
I feel like that's the benefit, is that, we have some space. The Standing Rock's 80 by 100 miles, so it's like bigger than some of the small states out east. It takes like over an hour, like hour 40 minutes to cross the res or whatever. So we have space, and what I see in that, and what I'm, part of the community conversations I'm having, the community meetings I'm having, the meeting with young women, is in each community, what we, the concept behind the school is just to decentralize learning and to get away from the colonized system that you're only smart if you can code switch, if you can learn this foreign system, if you can speak this foreign language, if you can write this foreign language. If you cannot master this foreign system, you are not an intelligent person. And I really want to get away from that. And so, now what's the difficulty? That's the beauty of it, is that we'll be able to have birth centers. I mean, what are they going to do? Come out here? I mean, otherwise we're all like, hey, you can build it over here, build it over there, so yeah. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's stay over there with your foolishness.
Seriously. Yeah. Yeah. It's the perfect storm. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you personally use vaginal steaming after childbirth? And do you use it now?
I use it now. I don't remember when you and I talked. Was that 2 years ago, or was it a year ago?
No, I think it was like 2 years ago.
It was like December 2018. Okay. Is that when it was, or 2017? Anyway, whenever we talk, it was this. Anyway, it was whenever that December was, because I started at the Christmas. I don't celebrate Christmas. At the Christmas break, after I stopped teaching, that's when I started. That's how I remember. I was like, hey, let me try this new thing out, doohickey thing.
I do remember it was really cold. I remember
that.
Yeah. And dark. When we talked, it was like not late in the evening, but it was dark.
So in the late afternoon. Yeah. Probably around the solstice time. So that's when I started. I've made some pretty impressive improvements.
Nice.
so yeah, it's been really good.
Do you use it in your practice, your doula practice at all?
I haven't, and only because since then I've only been to one birth,
Okay.
and that, so
Mhm.
yeah, I've really buckled down and focused because, yeah. So
Yeah. Right on. So let's get into the study a little bit.
for sure,
You ready for that?
yeah.
Okay. So what were your first thoughts after reading the 4th trimester vaginal steam study?
Um, I kind of feel like 9 and 10, I'm gonna end up merging them because just from my own experience with steaming, I know there's benefits. And my sister, I have a number of relatives who I've talked into it. So actually, you talked to her. so,
Yeah.
so my sister and I have talked about it, and we've seen some pretty remarkable changes. So I wasn't actually surprised that there was improvement. I was surprised by the drastic drop with from 4 to 8 days. Did that come out right? 4 days to 8 days.
Well, yeah, from day 4 postpartum to day 8 postpartum, which is 5 days straight.
It was like this huge, massive drop, and that was really impressive to me. And then the 6 weeks. So just overall, I was really impressed. I thought that was just, I appreciate having the numbers, because you say, no, it's great. It worked on me. so, so yeah, I was happy to see the numbers with this.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, we literally have thousands of years of anecdotal evidence, right? It's like thousands of years of women from all over the world being like, it worked for me.
Yeah.
That's what we have. But not nobody, lots of people don't want to listen to women talk, which is like part of the problem. So yeah, we came up with some numbers, like we went the clinical route. So the really cool thing though is that, there's stuff that we assumed, like, yeah, of course it helps to pull out lochia that's in there. Sure. Like, and it helps to like heal torn skin. Sure. That makes sense. But there were things, as the person who like wrote up the data into a report, there were so many things that surprised me. Even as someone who's a peristeam hydrotherapist student, like I study this stuff really deeply and I have clients all over the world. And still, like, as I was writing it up, I was just like, what? I've never given birth, so maybe that's why I was so surprised. But like the blood pressure thing, like how quickly it drops blood pressure, but stays within a healthy range. Say that again, Kim?
Especially for women of color, like the possibilities around that. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah, it's really cool. Is it something you feel like you can share widely in your community and that women would welcome?
I actually would like to. I'd like to pursue that. I did message Kelly like a year ago, right before that full, right before. I have too many projects. That's my issue. We talked about that. Yes. But that is something that I do want to pursue. Like, that is something that I feel like it's another tangent that I feel like is really important here. Traditionally, we do have a form of the steam. It's called the inipi or inikaha. And that's just, it's like in English, it's the sweat or the sweat lodge. But it's replicates going back into the womb, and it's really hot, and we're in there I've actually never timed it until I had somebody say, a non-native come and say, what time do you think we're gonna finish? And I was like, wait, what? I don't know. So it's about 2 hours, so yeah, like the steam, like when I heard about it from you, or when you and I talked, like this makes sense, because I already know the benefits of going into a weekly steam and cleansing yourself, and totally makes sense.
Mhm.
So I also feel like that's part of that remembering to be human again, because we both just said it in our language. Oh, I didn't have the numbers. I didn't have the data. I didn't have this system of, approval, these, this paternalistic approval to say, this is legit because I think, anyways. We already know. We have our bodies to know this, but anyway, so yeah, for sure.
And then my last question is, what do you think are like the major implications of this study for women and like global society?
I think the major implications are only effectual in the way we just said, is that in the systems that we have now, this is their evidence. This is their accrediting process. This is their saying, hey, you might actually be right.
This voice kills me every time.
So I feel like
I love that voice.
Every time it kills me.
Just stop. I'm too comfortable.
But it is definitely a system of like legibility, a system of being like, we need to make sure that this is one size fits all, is really sort of what it is like, we need to make sure that I can use this on anybody, anytime, in the exact same way and get the exact same results, which isn't actually how the human body works. It's not really how anything works, really. No. So, that part is problematic in itself.
Yeah.
But then, like, how do you communicate with people who only subscribe to that way of thinking? Do you know what I mean? Like, and bridges have to be made for understanding, right? So it's really interesting being in that space.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I know I need it, because when I go in and talk to, when I go in and I accompany a woman in a hospital, that's what they're going to ask. It's not that I have this much experience. It's not that I know this works. I know that when, for me personally, and I don't share this often, I'm about to share it like wide out, but I'm pretty intuitive, and I don't want to sound all mystical native, but when I'm with the mother, I can sense when the baby's like in distress, or when the baby's like, like we gotta, like, all right, let's go. I can sense like all of that, but no doctor or nurse that's gonna believe that, because I don't have a stethoscope. I don't have anything. I'm just, there, like just holding space and just tuning in, like, okay, so yeah. One, I think we need to appease the systems, because they're still at play. But we also have to remember our nache, and we have to remember our power. And we have to remember that even though like these numbers are awesome, like ultimately we know what works for us, So yeah, I think that's the biggest benefit, is that these numbers will help women get the care that they need, or be in a space where they're comfortable, or have their bodies more honored or something. Mm-hmm. So
the part that made me laugh the most then is that you think that you being an intuitive is any kind of secret at all. You're like, nobody really knows this, but game recognized game, baby. Game recognized game.
Well, so I've seen the looks, and I'm like, no, the baby's fine. Like, I've seen the looks, and I'm like, I just know. Damn it.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we go into the next section, I want to make sure that everybody knows how to find you. Do you want to share where people can get in touch with you if they're interested in the language school, in birthwork, in social advocacy, in any of the stuff that you do?
For sure. So my email, unfortunately, I don't have any official thing like a website or anything. Hopefully that'll all come when I get to when our school design everything gets solidified. But my email is last name Locke, Locke, Kimimila. That's Kimimila @gmail. And then for the school, it's Defenders of the Water School.info@gmail. It's Defenders of the Water School.info@gmail. So those are the two primary ways. And then I kind of spout off a lot on Facebook too. So I don't know. I have some people who tune in there. I don't know. So that's what it is. I get unfollowed a lot because,
Stop.
But I think you know that. So anyway.
I know that space.
Oh, that's funny.
I know that life. Okay, thank you. Thank you for everything that you shared with us. I look forward.
Yeah, thank you. That was fun.
I look forward to releasing this and then seeing all the conversations around it. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah.
Good.
And the next thing we're going to go into is Mansplaining with Mike.
I like that.
Where Mike mansplains everything that we just learned from our guests.
Oh, yeah. So here we have the illustrious Dr. Locke. I'm speaking it into existence. And I've just kind of dubbed her Queen of the Tangents. The tangents is where it's where all the knowledge and all the value is. She's got tons of knowledge, tons of things to say, things to give to everybody, but the true value is in the tangent. The tangent is kind of like the sacred space of what she's bringing to us. And so, yeah, I just really wanted to value the tangents from Dr. Locke. And yeah, she she lived all over the world, bringing tangents to people, tangents of decolonization.
Yes.
To everyone.
If that's all you got, that's perfect.
Tangents of decolonization.
There it is.
To 37 countries. And while she's bringing these tangents, she has an amazing voice that she uses to mock people while she's bringing these tangents of decolonization. So yes, that's exactly what I learned to do.
That's the man voice, so I thought you knew that.
There you have it, folks.
That's awesome. Great.
Nothing else?
No.
Wow.
That was it.
Okay.
That was awesome.
Okay, cool. Kimmy, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today and your knowledge and wisdom with us today, sharing your story with us. And we look forward to working with you more in the future.
For sure. We have a lot of work to do. Thanks for inviting me. That was a lot of fun.
Yes, great.
It was our pleasure.
It was good to meet you.
Great to meet you.
Aside from lurking. my solo. I was like,
Yeah. Okay. Take
enjoy
care.
your Saturday.
You too. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Hot and Steamy podcast. Feedback is gold, so please like, comment, share, and subscribe. This podcast was made possible by our sponsors Kelly Garza of Steamy Chick and Kimberly Ann Johnson of Maga Mamas. Visit our website for more information on them and our other guests, to view extras, and to purchase merch. That's www.hotsteamypodcast.com. www.hotsteamypodcast.com.